Hello, my name is Alex Williams, and this is my BAS 160 video presentation. I assume you're going to be getting a lot of these, so I tried to make it a little bit humorous, because it's the end of the semester. But yeah. The assignment is to just record a video discussing a topic from the previous chapters, discuss why it's important, and discuss what you learned. So the topic that I'm specifically going to be discussing comes from bonus chapter A, which is working within the legal environment, and I'm specifically going to focus on contract law. Why is it important to me? A, I'm a former mock trial kid. I did it all 4 years of high school. We went to state all 4 years of high school. The year after I graduated, my team actually was not only the regional champions, but the state champions and the national champions. So we had a really good program. B, I'm very interested in truly understanding the IndyCar contract drama. I'm a huge IndyCar fan. As you can see, there's a big timeline of the back-to-back contract scandals involving the same driver and the same two teams, because it was the team he drove for and the team he was trying to drive for and then wasn't trying to drive for. There's also been very recent discussion about the exit clauses in contracts, specifically to deal with Nick Lucas. He got hired by McLaren, broke his wrist, and as of 2 days ago, has been released by the team because his recovery is going a lot slower than anticipated, and he's still not back in the car. Letter C, I also just like knowing how things work. I wrote an entire essay on park permit regulations in Formula One my first semester of college, and I read an excessive amount of regulations, and I now just read motorsport regulations for fun. I like knowing the rules. I understand exactly how boring that sounds. It's okay. So what have I learned? There are different types of law. I already knew about civil and criminal from mock trials. So civil law is marriage and divorce law, typically just lawsuits. Most of the time it's negligence cases. Criminal law is like crimes, punishments, investigations, prosecutions. It's you broke the law. Now you have to face the consequences. Oh no. Didn't really know about business law though. For business law, I forgot to bring my notes back over here. Apologies. Business law has to do with it's rules, it's statutes, it's codes, regulations that provide a legal framework for the conduct of businesses. So it's everything that a business can and can't do and what can be proceeded by with legal action. So there's different types of law that go into, that are brought into the three types discussed above. There's statutory and common law. Statutory law, written law. Legislation, constitution, treaties, at the state and federal level, it's literally like, it's the rule book, it's the laws, like state laws, stuff like that. Common law is unwritten law. It's also known as case law. So it's court cases and the decisions of those court cases that affect the legal precedents going forward. So if you do something wrong and you have to go to court for it, if someone has done something wrong similarly to you, they will probably pull that case and its decisions and how that is going to affect the trial into the case law. That's how that works. Contract law. Here's the fun part. So there are 6 requirements when determining if something is a contract or not. You have to meet all 6 per the textbook. It's actually really not this simple. The textbook says that it's obviously not, but for the most basic breakdown for an intro to business class, I think this does a very good job of it. So number 1, an offer has to be made. It can be oral or written. Simple enough. Number 2, there has to be a voluntary acceptance of the offer, and it must be mutual and done without duress, meaning you cannot force or use the threat of force to get someone to agree to the offer. Easy enough. Number 3, both parties have to give consideration. Consideration just means something about you. The example that the textbook uses is, I agree to sell you my bike for $100. The bike and the $100 are both consideration. Number 4, both parties have to be competent, because you cannot be legally held to a contract if you are a minor, so if you're under the age of 18, if you are under the influence of drugs and alcohol, or have been legally declared incompetent for some developmental disability, etc. Things like that. So basically, if you are not in your right state of mind, or if you are a child, you cannot be legally held to a contract. So to take the bike example, if it's like, oh, I agree to sell you my bike for $100, but you're dealing with like a 15-year-old, not a contract, because minors are not legally allowed to sign contracts. So number 5 is the contract has to cover a legal act. So contract stealing and illegal drugs, stolen merchandise, etc. cannot be enforced because you're already breaking the law. You cannot have a law-based agreement if you're already breaking the law in the first place. Not how it works. Sorry. And number 6, the contract has to be in proper form. So in certain cases, the contract has to be in writing no matter what. Like you can't just have these agreements, have these deals without this being in writing legally. So those cases are if it details the sale of goods or services at or above $500, if the agreement cannot be completed within 1 year, or if it details anything regarding to real property, so land, vehicles, physical property, stuff like that. However, what happens if you breach a contract? The book details 3 specific outcomes of the possibilities of what happens when you violate a contract. I'm sure there's more to this and much more specifics, but for the breakdown, it's a lot easier to just 1, 2, 3. So your options, I'm actually going to start with payment of damages because it makes more sense to start with that than it does specific performance. So the payment of damages, so the party who was violated can sue for damages, which is usually money. So it's usually the amount that they would lose from the violator's non-performance. So if you agree to do something, I agree to pay you to do it, you don't do it, I can sue you for it. I can sue you over it, or like I can get the money back for like whatever. It's like if you agree to pay me, I do the job, you don't pay me, I can sue you and be like, you need to pay me. And I can put in extra on top of that and be like, because you didn't pay me, I wasn't able to pay my rent, my utilities, my insurance. So now you have to cover that additional cost because you didn't pay me in the first place, so I wasn't able to cover these things. So damages can go over the amount that would have been lost in the first place. The second one, which is actually the first one on here, is specific performance. The party in violation may be required to live up to the agreement anyway if monetary damages are insufficient. So if I agree, this is the one from the book, if I agree to sell you a rare painting and then I back out on it, from like a specific price, and I back out on it, you can sue me and be like, no, you're gonna give me the painting anyway, because the value of the painting is more than its price. Even if it's being sold at a fair price, it is a rare painting. It has a higher physical and emotional value than the monetary damages would suffice. So I'd have to give you the painting anyway. The third option is the discharge of obligation, which basically is the matter can be dropped, which also relieves the violated party of their obligation as well. So if we have a contract, you agree to do something, you don't do, and I agree to pay you for it, and you don't do your job, and I just say, you know what, forget it. Forget this ever happened, contract is null, rip it up, whatever. You can't come back and sue me and be like, hey, you didn't pay me, because when we went into the discharge of obligation, not only were you discharged of your obligation of doing the job for me, I was discharged of my obligation of paying you because you didn't do the job in the first place. So that's the three different kinds of outcomes of a breach of contract that the book details. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you liked my memes. I hope they made you laugh.